Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. Today I want to showcase the build that I've been playing in the last couple of days. My second, I would say second serious build of the league, because I tried out a bunch of other things that did not really work out the way I wanted to. So this build is quite nice. Good. What is this build? So this is a Mind Over Matter, Agnostic, Mana Stacking, Archmage, Stormbrand Raider. And if you're wondering, what the fuck, why would you ever play Archmage in 2022, right? This is like so 2020 or whatever, this past leaks before all of these changes. Well, let me explain real quick. If you would throw in, let's say, 100 Exalts onto two separate builds. One would be this build, for example, with like Mind Over Matter, Mana Stacking, and then you have like a meta build like, I don't know, Skelly Mages, or you have like Seismic Trap, or you have like EA Ballista, or you have like Corrupting Fever, all of these builds, right? I would say, obviously, the meta builds, for a certain reason, are definitely stronger on the same amount of budget. But this is where this build kicks in, because nobody is playing Mana Stacking builds, or nobody is playing like Mind Over Matter Agnostic builds. So what I have here is a character that I personally would value a lot more exalts than it actually was. That means that, yes, a 100x Mind Over Matter build and a 100x like meta build, the MOM build falls off, definitely. Absolutely nothing to talk about. But if I tell you that the 100 exalts worth build of MOM is currently worth like 15x, then obviously you are still having like a super low investment and still have like a pretty high skill ceiling, or at least like a very decent build. And that's the reason why I said, like, you know what, I want to go for a mid-range build that is not costing you like 100 exalts or something, but still be able to do all the content quite fine. And that's why I came up with this Stormbrand Raider. So some people may remember this build was my league starter in 316 Scourge League, as far as I remember. And I really had a good time on it back in the days. This was the build that I farmed up the Mage Blood back in the days. And yeah, overall, I just like this character. I would say let's run a map, and then we talk about the build, the gearing, and all these kind of things. So, what kind of map do we gonna run? How about a Crimson Temple, so we can find the Mage Blood Divination card, because that would be quite nice. So, blah 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 blah, cannot leech, whatever. Yeah, that should be fine. So basically, this is a Stormbrand character. I do have Arcane Cloak on my left click. I have my Orb of Storms with a Curse on Hit setup with Ellie Weakness. I have Whispers of Doom anointed, so I'm both having the Temp Chains and the Ellie Weakness as my sort of or source of curses, with Asenath's Gentle Touch for these explosions. And the rest of the gear is pretty much just life, mana regen, and those kind of things. It's a non-crit build, so it definitely doesn't have too much investment cost in that case, right? But overall, it's a Stormbrand character, so we're just gonna put in our Stormbrand, and things is just like chaining and clearing and popping off and so on, right? This is like full maxed out, I would say, Atlas passive tree. So we are running 4 Void Stones. All the maps that we can technically drop is tier 16. I do not have a problem doing any of the altars, clicking off any of these chests, just because I'm Raider, I'm ailment immune, I have spell suppression cap, and we also have Mind Over Matter with like 40%. We have a good amount of regen. And you might wonder, like, how can a build with 3k life can be tanky at all, right? But the key factor is Agnostic, and Agnostic is basically sacrificing 20% of your current mana to recover that amount of life, which basically means, oh, we have Rogue Exiles Possessed, currently farming challenges with this build. So that means if you take a look at my mana pool, I have like over 10,000 mana already. And that means 20% of that is somewhere around 2,000 something. That means I recover over 2,000 life per second. And you can also, like, if you want to get more damage, run Righteous Fire. This doesn't degen me in this case, because, yes, it does actually degen me in the case of life. But thanks to Mind Over Matter, I'm actually draining mana for my Righteous Fire. But we get all the spell damage bonuses and so on. But I'm gonna say, What you really need on this build is regen. A lot of mana regen, a lot of like levels, because it is, I just need to take care of these altars, because sometimes there is like a modifier that kind of ruins my mana sustain for some reason. I haven't, like, I'm never bothering. I just click on the minion stuff and go with that basically, right? But for to see boss damage, I think we do have like somewhere around 10 mil DPS, 8 mil DPS with the current build variation that I'm running here. But as you see, it's just a fast build, it's tanky, it has a lot of like clearing potential, it can also do all the endgame bosses, and in my opinion, it is also quite affordable, or I wouldn't really say cheap, because I still invested like, I don't know, 30x or something into this, but I think for the investment that I had, it is performing quite well. Good. What are the key parts of this build? As I said again, mana regen. You are playing Archmage. Archmage is basically a support gem that increases the cost of your spell, and therefore the more mana it costs, the more damage added you get from Archmage. So as of right now, I do have 2000 mana cost for each cast of Stonebrand. So this is not an Indigon build, it is actually an Archmage build. And as you see, currently I'm running like 2000 mana per second what I regen. So it can get a little bit clunky, because the more you spam, the more mana you still like. If you have a lot of cast speed, you're like wasting your mana like nothing, right? And a mana flask is not really doing any difference. So my mana flask is active, but I still have like kind of the same regen. So that's why I say like, okay, if you want to have a mana flask, probably take an enduring and just get like stun avoidance or something like that, just to benefit from that. So how to play this build properly? Arcane Cloak is pretty much the same kind of thing as like Stonebrand when it comes to like mana spending. So what Arcane Cloak does, I have it on left click. In the best case scenario, you want to use it on a full mana pool. So you click once and you get like a 6,500 shield, which also protects me. That's why I'm also like getting pretty tanky, but it also gives you like a shit ton of damage. So in the best case scenario, if you're about to approach any like endgame bosses, because for all the other bosses you don't really need to worry about your setup at all, right? But if you go like Maven or anything endgame bosses, you put down your sigil. Then on full mana you're gonna use your Arcane Cloak, then you're gonna Orb of Storms and load up your power, your sigil here. It's kind of hard to see on my background here on the hideout, but the sigil is the more mana you spend within the sigil, then it loads up and gives you like another like a ton of damage. So there's like a combination of like Arcane Cloak, a fully uploaded sigil, a Righteous Fire, and then your brands will deal roundabout, in my current PUB, about 4 million per brand. And we have 2 brands in target. So in my current version, it's about 8 million DPS for single target Shaper DPS, that is. Good. Let's talk about the gearing. So I would say core parts of the build is definitely the Cloak of Defiance. The reason for that is Mind Over Matter and 10% of damage taking is like that. It's extra on Mind Over Matter. So Mind Over Matter is a keystone here where 30% of the damage taken is going on mana. So even though I have like 3000 life, let's say I get a 1000 damage hit, I get 700 damage on life and 300 on mana. And if you have this cloak over here, you get another 10% MOM effect. So it's like 600 and 400, 60-40 here, right? And the reason why I want to get so much mana is just because it is always better, like technically, if you would have a 50% MOM, you would have like 3k life, 6k mana, right? So twice amount. But the problem is you still need mana to cast your spells, you still need all of these kind of things, so you always want to have even more mana for the MOM requirements to make it like feel good, right? But another thing here, regen 1% mana per second. As I say again, this build is all about mana regen. If you don't have mana regen, it feels super shit. You're gonna cast like 2 or 3 brands and then you're starved on mana and you're just sitting here and waiting and be like, oh, come on, like, I cannot cast spells. My mana flask is not doing anything. Yes, it probably regens like 500 mana per second, but if you have 10,000 mana, like what is 500 mana per second? You know, you need like a minute to get your mana pool full, so you cannot really count on your mana flask at all. And that's why I say like it gives you flat mana regen, and a 10% MOM effect. It's just a beautiful chest when it comes to that. For the other sources, let's see. A Series Foible is definitely one of the best items for a build like that. I think there might be better versions with like a +1/+1 amulet, super high expensive or something, but an Ethereus foible goes currently for 5 chaos or 4 chaos, super cheap, and the good thing is if you catalyst it up, you get like a shit ton of mana regen, flat mana, and percent mana. And yeah, this like super cheap and gets you going a long way. For my weapons, it's the same thing. I want to have mana and spell damage primarily. If you can get in something like cast speed is always nice for brands. I have here spell damage, flat lightning damage, cast speed. The crit doesn't really matter, the chance to ignite. I just like try to like invest the least amount of currency for good items, okay? I think this one was 2 exalts and this one was 4 exalts if I remember correctly, or the other way around. But I think this is like super nice weapons. This one has T1 mana, T1 hybrid mana, spell damage and crafted spell damage, cast speed. You know, this one has actually a triple prefix with mana, spell damage, and lightning damage to spell. So I could just spam, reforge, keep prefix, and try to get like better suffixes that would benefit my build. But to be honest, this one has cast speed on it, this one has cast speed. I'm fine with that. That's pretty much my endgame weapon. Obviously, you could go like extremely nuts and get like Crusader weapons with like Hatred Aura effect, Wrath Aura effect, and it might be insanely good for that, right? Helmet, Crown of the Inward Eye, increased maximum mana, life, and global energy shield, 21%, insane with the Stonebrand Helmet enchant. I think it was 75 chaos for the enchant. Let me check real quick. It's 50 chaos right now. So we have like 4 chaos for this. The falling, the 6-link Cloak of Defiance was 4 exalts, something like that. So as you see, it's a pretty cheap build to get together. The Ascendant's Gentle Touch was about 2 exalts, roughly. That helps you with your clearing. Then for the rings, you want something like life, mana regen, and resistance. So the good thing, or let's say the good and the bad thing, nowadays, items like mana and mana regen are two quite dead stats in the current meta, right? So when items roll with a good amount of mana regen, people think it's actually shitty, right? Which is not the case, because for, I would say, someone else's treasure, or trash is our treasure more or less. So this is a 6 times T1 ring, T1 life, T1 mana, T1 energy shield. Energy shield doesn't do anything for us because we run agnostic, we don't have energy shield. But T1 rest, T1 mana regen. And I bought this one for 1 exalt. This is actually an insanely good ring for 1 exalt. The other one is pretty much the same, life, mana T1 mana regen, T1 lightning resistance, and T1 strength. And this one was, I think, 50 chaos. So for my, I wouldn't say endgame, because endgame does always require or tells you like double corrupted items, mirror tiers, synthesized bases, and so on, right? But here I'm talking really about the basics with no insanely expensive items. And these are like quite insane, right? To be honest, if you want to have like a super min-max ring or something, maybe a cerulean ring with percent mana would be nice, or any other like crazy synthesized bases, right? But overall, life, mana, resistance, mana regen is what you want. You don't need crit multi because we run LE overload, which makes the build quite cheap in to get going. All you need is just your base core abilities, and then just as much mana, flat mana, and percent mana and mana regen as you can get. For the belt, I got life, mana, and mana recovery rate. This is like super good for sustaining your mana thing. So here I have like 1800 mana per second, and with the belt I have like almost 2.2k, right? So this gives you actually quite a ton of mana regen, because it's a global multiplier to your overall mana regen, so just the recovery rate. For the boots, I picked up, I crafted these ones myself. I was just spamming these Eldritch currency to get onslaught effect and avoid elemental ailment. Since we are raider, we have permanent onslaught, and we get 50% ailment avoidance from our Avatar of the Veil. So what I need is another 50%, and I just spammed like Eldritch currency to get the 23% avoid elemental ailments, and then I used sorry, then I just spammed Essence of, I think it was Seal over here, Essence of Loathing actually. That gives you guaranteed 31 to 35 avoid elemental ailments on boots. So with my implicit and the Essence, I'm 100% ailment avoidance, and then I just spammed these essences to get T1 spell suppression, because thanks to Raider, we're also gonna get 40% spell suppression. Then with the Mage Bane and some spell suppression nodes, we are gonna achieve 100% spell suppression, and the element avoidance just with our ascendancy plus this pair of boots. They're pretty, like, you know, good, bad. I mean, I fixed the suffixes with my avoid elemental ailments with the essence craft, T1 spell damage, and T1 cold resistance, but my prefixes, you know, hybrid evasion and a crafted movement speed, you can do a lot better on that. I just need to, like, reforge, keep suffix, and then maybe suffix cannot be changed with a maven, or at least with an aceling craft or something to make some pretty neat or nice boots. But they cost me, like, I don't know, the base was like 5 chaos. Would love to, but sadly, budget gamer. So, good that he sends me that, because this is exactly the jewel that I'm referring to, that I would like to put in as well. Basically, when they released those new jewels, I mean, you can barely probably see it, but this is the new Uber Shaper Watcher's Eye, right? And this says, always sap while enemies are affected, Your Wrath gets better. You can only use Wrath, but always sap while affected by Wrath. So sap is basically another ailment that gives 20% less damage taken from this monster, right? And the crazy thing is, all your other auras are disabled. So the problem is, which build does not use, or does only use one aura? And this is why these jewels are actually quite a niche, and I don't understand why they're so expensive. He's asking for 80x. You know, in a couple of days or in a week or two, when more people are able to kill those Uber bosses, I think you're gonna get those jewels for less than 10x. Because how many builds are only using one aura? Yeah, my build. Because we're only using Wrath. And so that basically would give us another layer of defense to just sap all enemies at all times, which is pretty insane. But this is like the later on. I would like to have this jewel, but I cannot afford it right now. Good. Anything else about the gearing process? Path of build link is in the description below. Let's go and take a look about the gems. So first of all, where is my Essence Worm? So usually you would play Essence Worm on a build like that, right? Because you get 1 aura for free. You don't want to reserve anything on your mana, because we also run a jewel that is the Clear Mind, increased mana regen, and increased spell damage while no mana is reserved. Some people might say, why don't I run Clarity together with Wrath? And if I don't want to reserve it on mana, you could also like go Arrogance Clarity to reserve it on life. But no, this is not a thing just because Agnostic. If you are not on full life, it will drain 20% of your mana permanently to try to reach full life, okay? This is just how Agnostic works. And the problem, if you reserve just 10 life, you are not on full life. And that also means that as soon as you activate Clarity on your life, you will permanently drain 20% of your mana because of Agnostic. So, no, you lose a lot of mana regen because of it. But why not using Essence Worm? We are using now Eternal Blessing support, which basically gives me 1 aura for free. So I can activate Wrath permanently, like with Essence Worm, and it doesn't reserve any mana, but I cannot use any auras, which is totally fine for my build. So that saves up another ring slot for more mana, life regen, those kind of things. Then I have a Sigil of Power as a standalone, which is, yeah, fulfilling its purpose. Then we have here Blood Rage, the Anomalous version, for the chance to gain a frenzy charge when you hit unique enemies. This is like more of I think a pretty expensive gem these days. 7x, yeah, but because it's leveled, I think like 4x or something for the gem is quite expensive, but this is just like to add some more single target DPS. So if you have a normal Blood Rage while mapping, you're still gonna get your frenzy charge. Then an Enhance with Enduring Cry and Righteous Fire. The Divergent version gives you more spell damage, and the Enduring Cry for like an Endurance charges for another layer of like small layer of defense. Then Arcane Cloak with Arcane Surge and increased duration for our big juicy 6.6k Arcane Cloak shield. Then we have Stonebrand, Archmage, Swift Brand, Conk Effect, Control Destruction, as well as Lightning Pan. In the gloves, our Orb of Storms with Hex Touch and Ally Weakness, and a Flame Dash for our movement. Here I have caster damage taken with Brand Recall. Basically, you can kind of skip everything in the boots, because if you have brands down and you get hit, it will spawn all the brands to you, then they will start chaining again, right? So it's like a nice feature. If you just like Flame Dash into a pack of monsters, they hit you, you get your brands to yourself, and they start spreading and you don't have to rely on your brands like having insane amounts of attachment range. Then Cast on Death Portal, this was one of the early stages. I think I'm currently level 97. The build doesn't really die a lot, but I'm doing a lot of mapping, so in this current state of the game, where the game is essentially hard with like juicing your Atlas, getting the Sentinels, you know, sometimes you die, and one thing I hate is when I'm at the end of a map, then I die and I have to run the entire thing again, so I could literally just say, you know what, I'll just pop in another map because I'm gonna waste so much time, but the Cast on Death Portal setup is quite nice when it comes to that. Good. Flasks, Bottled Faith, Rumi's Concoction, this is also nice, a little bit of block, but we're also gonna get Mystic Bulwark, which says mana regen per chance to block spell damage. We do have quite some, or a little bit of spell damage. How much is it? 8%. With the Flask up, it's 29, but hey, it's another 29%, or at least 15% mana regen, and we're gonna get some mana out of it as well here with Prodigal Perfection with the spell damage per mana. So this build is just purely based around mana regen, as I say again. Then Mana Flask, whatever you want to get on it, and it's Series Promise for some extra LES, extra Chaos, which is super nice, and a Quicksilver Flask, and with cast speed. Yeah, if you want to have that, it's fine. I like to have the cast speed even more than movement speed. Since we're Raider, we have Onslaught with increased Onslaught effect, so we are quite fast, so I didn't really want to go for the increased movement speed on the suffixes. And cast speed is like always nice, makes the build feel smoother, as well as your brand's dealing more damage because the brand activation frequency scales with your cast speed. Let's take a look at the skill tree. Starting off over here, just mana nodes, oh guess what, mana nodes, more mana nodes, increased mana and mana cost, which is good for our Archmage, and more mana, here mana, at least life and mana regen, mana regen, here a healthy mind to convert the life nodes into guess what, mana nodes. So as you see, it's all about mana. Okay. Class of Jewels, Liquid Inspiration, or Scintillating Idea, Mana, Lightning Pen. What is here, like any kind of jewel? I'm currently preparing for a Megalomaniac over here, or another one, or some medium class of jewels or something like that. But you need a high amount of levels on this build, just because you start over here and you want to get over here, you know? And there are ways to get Agnostic or Runebinder thanks to like Skin of the Lords or like the boots to give you Agnostic, but the problem is you need both of them, right? And you cannot really get both of the nodes. You could technically with the Skin of the Lords for Runebinder and then take the boots with the unique boots with Agnostic, but you also want to take Runesmith, so you have to travel there, you know? But I solved this with Thread of Hope to at least gain the Arcane Capacitor, the Agnostic, the Divine Judgment, and here's some more LE res if you need to, because you're gonna have a hard time getting your res capped. Then LE Overload, here Crackling Speed. I mean, Lightning Mastery is insane for this build. Non-projectile Scales Chain 1 additional time is insanely good for mapping. The increase in reductions to maximum mana also applies a shock effect at 30% of the value. I mean, we run like, I don't know, 500% increased maximum mana, so we're gonna hit insanely big shocks even on bosses. And the lightning damage with non-critical strikes is lucky, means I hit one time, but in the game calculates 2 times, and whatever hits higher of those 2 will be my actual damage hit. So in the best case scenario, I want to take 3 lightning masteries, but the problem is, here is a lightning mastery for like 8 or 9 points, then here is a lightning mastery somewhere for another like, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 points, and here is the next lightning mastery. They are like so spread. I could see myself getting like this Heart of Thunder for the cost of like mana and stuff, and then would probably take either the shock or the additional chain, because the chain just feels amazing, but I'm playing without all of that, right? I'm also only playing with one brand node, which is the brands attached to new nearby enemy. Because of the Ascen's Gentle Touch, we do have the Explo, so that just makes it feel a lot better. You can also take this one over here with the brand equity and then probably get for the brand attachment range, or if you want to invest the minimum amount of points, is Explosive Runes. It is a crit multi-node, which is useless for our LE Overload, but it's only 4 points. We do get brand attachment range, so we don't have to skill the brand attachment range, and then maybe get the 2 additional brands that we would technically get from the brand equity, right? So it would be less points, and you're still gonna benefit from like almost 2 masteries, because as I said, Here I would take the brand attachment range because this node gives me 2 additional brands. I could do literally the same over here because this node gives me 30% brand attachment range. And then for the master, you get the 2 additional brands. Just like for... I should actually do that at some point. Other than that, skin delating idea is your best friend when it comes to cluster jewels. You want to have that as many times as possible. And other than that, here you can put an Angel Instinct, get you a lot of benefit out of it. Or if you want to go Giga Jet mana, which is not really a good thing because you also want to have some life, is that you're going to get your Healthy Mind over here and transform all of the nodes into mana nodes, or you just put it over here and still keep the Unnatural Instinct over here, right? So you technically could, but I don't think that's actually necessary at all because I already have like 10,000 mana, right? It's crazy. You can go like 12, 13,000 if you want to, but based on like a 40% MOM, you still want to have like at least or somewhere around 2 to 3k life. And trust me, even with 2k life, this build would be absolutely fine and could still tank the majority of the content. It's actually insane. Good. I don't think there is anything more than you want to know. Other than that, just ask me in the comment section below. Good, let's take a look at the cosmetics. We do have the Stygian Phoenix helmet and the Sapphire scintillating body armor, double Stygian weapon with a mana tank back attachment. It's the new one from the mystery boxes. So the more mana we spend, the more empty the bottle here gets, and if the mana fills up, it actually fills up the bottle here as well. Super cool. Thunderstrike gloves, I don't know if they are actually working, because I barely see it with the amount of MTX that I have, but usually they should actually get Crackling Light if I use lightning skills, and I mean, I use only lightning skills, so I'm kind of wondering if this MTX actually works. Because I don't see any flickering here, but there just might be an overload of MTX here. Tomb Raider boots that I don't have, Cerulean Flare character effect, all the new skins for Flasks, MTXs, and the rest is like Celestial brand effect. Oh wait, I forgot my Watcher's Eye. Wait, I forgot my Watcher's Eye MTX. Bro, it looks like so cool. Look at the eyes falling. It's pretty cool. But yeah, everything that is blue, everything that's fine. The Celestial, or Harbinger Righteous Fire. We do have the Harbinger Flame Dash effect, Nexus Aura effect for the Wrath. Yeah, everything that's blue fits into my build, and it looks actually pretty disgustingly good. But hey, my builds might be like mediocre at best because special Snowflake and off-meta builds, but hey, my MTX is always on point. They call me MT Extreme for a reason, right? Good. Pantheons, I currently have Soul of the Brine King and Shakari, just because like less damage taken from like dots and like preventing getting stun locked. Passive skills, or at least bandits, kill all bandits. Anything else? No idea. You're gonna ask me in the comment section below if you wanna know something more about that. I think the next part is to try to go for the Uber Pinnacle bosses on this build. I have no idea if I'll be able to do it with a build like that, but we're gonna find out today on stream, I would assume. Alright guys, thanks for tuning in, thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.